Good morning and welcome to the little apartment on the prairie. And today I'm doing a baking / canning experiment, and I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. Hopefully it works well, but it may be a disaster. But I thought I'd let you see, and you'll see what happens with me. We'll both learn something. So what I'm doing is I'm baking pumpkin bread, and I've already got the batter mixed up, so I'm not going to show you me mixing the batter. But I will include the recipe down in the description because it is the best pumpkin bread ever. I've got a lot of pumpkin in my freezer. Well, not a lot, but some left from last fall. It's about time to, in the summer, the early part of the summer, I start trying to use up all the stuff that I've had in the freezer since last summer. So what I'm going to do is bake pumpkin bread in canning jars. And you use a wide mouth jar so that you can get the bread out of the jar later, because if you use a regular mouth jar, the bread's going to be bigger than the opening of the jar. You put the batter in the jars, you fill it halfway full, you sit it on a cookie sheet in the oven, I guess in case something bubbles over or whatever. And then when you take it out of the oven, you put the lids on it then, and the heat seals it, and it's supposed to keep for about a year in this jar. I'm not sure why I want pumpkin bread that'll keep in a jar for a year, but I want to see if it works. It would be an interesting way to preserve stuff. So I've already got my batter mixed up. I've got 2 quart jars and I have 1 pint jar. So I'm not sure if the quart jars, I probably got enough batter to do all 3 of these jars. If I've got extra batter left over, I don't know, maybe I'll make a couple muffins or something because I don't want to waste it. So you spray the inside of the jar with baking spray. And I'm telling you, if you make this pumpkin bread, you make it in loaf pans, the recipe makes 2 loaves. You want to put parchment paper in the loaf pans because it sticks. I have tried everything to make it without it sticking and had no luck whatsoever. And it's the best pumpkin bread, but it really sticks to the pan if you don't use parchment paper. Okay, so you use your funnel like you use when you're filling up canning jars with something. And let's tilt this so you can see it. Oh, that's bad. See, ignore the fact that my kitchen's a mess, please, because as usual, if I had to clean my kitchen in order to film something, you just wouldn't get any videos. So I'm just gonna dump batter in here. I want the jar to be about half full. If I'm dripping on the floor. What I've read is that if you end up with the bread rises a little bit above the top of the jar, it's okay. You just kind of smush it down when you put the lid on. This is not as easy as putting bread batter into a pan, I can tell you that. And don't overfill it because it's going to be a pain in the butt to get it out if you put too much in, I'm thinking. This might just make 2 quart jars. I might not need the pint jar. And I'm just going to bake it. The recipe, if you're baking it like in loaf pans, says to bake it at 325 for 65 to 75 minutes. Sometimes I find it's done in about an hour, but I'm gonna bake it at 325 since that's what the recipe says. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to take a little bit of batter out of that other jar. I might have overfilled it a little. So this recipe is just gonna fill up 2 quart jars halfway. So it makes about 4 cups altogether of batter, I guess. Maybe I could have figured that out if I tried, but that wouldn't have involved a lot of math. I'm not going to need this pint jar. So I'm just going to bake it at the temperature that I would bake it in if I baked it in loaf pans. I don't know if I should change the temperature. The time might be different, so I'll give it about 45 minutes and then start checking it. And, it'll be done when it's done. I don't know if it'll take longer or less time. I was kind of thinking less time because I didn't think it was going to be as much as a regular loaf pan would fit in a jar, but Yeah, I'm gonna get a spoon and just take like 1 spoonful out of the other jar to try to make them a little bit more even. Got some stuff on the jar. And I'm gonna wipe the tops, the rims of the jars so I don't have stuff baked on there, because I don't see how you're gonna can it if you've got stuff baked on it. I mean, how the lid would go on if you've got bread baked on the rim. So whenever you're canning something, you wipe off the rims of your jars. So I guess I'm gonna do it now too. All right, so I got a cookie sheet in my oven. I had to move the rack down 1. Usually it's on the middle thing, and I had to move it down 1 so the canning jars would fit in there neatly. They're about even amounts in there. And I'm just gonna set them, oh, that's my bad shoulder. I'm just gonna set them on the rack and close it up. And when I come back later to check them, I'll let you see how they're doing. Okay, the pumpkin bread's been in the oven for about almost 30 minutes. So we're just gonna take a look and see what it looks like. I think you can see in there, it's more than halfway full. It's definitely rising. It's definitely still looks gooey. It's not done yet. I didn't think it'd be done yet. The recipe says to bake it for 65 to 75 minutes. Although usually when I bake it in a loaf pan, it takes more like 60 to 65 minutes. But I start checking on it after close to an hour normally. So I'm just going to keep a close eye on it over the next 30 minutes. And I'll show you what it looks like when it's done and how the lids go on. Hopefully it's going to turn out good. Alright, it's been about 45 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and check on the pumpkin bread. You see it in there? I'm going to stick it with a fork and see if it's done. I don't have one of those like cake tester sticks, and I don't have toothpicks either, but a fork will do the job. I'm just going to poke it. Yeah. The top, like, it kind of looks solid, but as soon as you poke it, it's still raw inside. So we're going to let it go another 10 or 15 minutes and check on it again. So I'm back, and the pumpkin bread has been in the oven for about an hour, well, like 59 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and check on it again. It hasn't risen to the very top of the jars, but you can see it's definitely risen quite a bit. So it feels spongy and bready. Ouch! And then I burned myself on the top of the oven. That's still just slightly undercooked. I'm going to give it another 5 minutes. Alright, the bread has now been in there for 65 minutes. I think it's going to be done, but I'm going to poke it one more time and see. If you've watched these videos before, you know that I don't normally show myself checking on what I'm baking every few minutes. But then usually I'm baking things I've baked before, and I know how long they take. And it's not that interesting to watch bread bake normally, but since this was different and I didn't know what to expect, I thought I'd show you what it looked like at different stages. And that is bready. There is some bread stuck to the fork, but it looks like it's all cooked. It's bread. It's bread. It's good. Okay. So I'm gonna, let's see, I'm not gonna, Sassy, you stay away from the oven. You'll burn your little feet. Alright, so I'm gonna take the jars out, and I'm not gonna try to lift the cookie sheet out because I would just like tip the jars over. I'm just gonna pull the jars out. Set them on a rack to cool, but I'm going to put the lids on them. Okay, these wires are my tens unit, which goes to, it puts little electrical impulses that's supposed to help with pain. I'm trying to make my shoulder feel better. Turn off the oven. Okay, so, oh Isaac, you hush, you just had a treat. I'm gonna put the lids on the jars. Come here, bring me your Kong, bring me your toy. And then I'm gonna put these on, and when you put the lids on, you don't want to twist them real tight, but they do have to go on the right way. There we go. So you want to put them on till they're like just tight enough that they're going to hold the lid on, but you don't want to like twist them super tight. At some point it should seal, make that little ping noise. Hi, Sassafras. Can I have your toy, Isaac? Mom, I want a treat in my toy. And then he doesn't want to hand over the toy. He's like, I want a treat in it, but I don't want to give it to you. All right, so there's the bread. Now it is supposed to keep for up to a year in that jar. When I'm experimenting with something new, here, Isaac, get your toy. I'm not going to wait for a year. Get your toy. I'm not going to wait for a year to see what it does. But I'll probably leave it for a couple weeks, and then I'll open it up and see what I think. And if I like it, if it turned out well, maybe I'll do some more bread. I might try some in pint jars. They do like little individual size loaves, or I mean big enough for like 2 or 3 people to eat. Interesting. Yeah, and I just baked it at the temperature that the recipe, this was not a recipe designed to go in jars. It was just a regular pumpkin bread recipe. Again, I'll put that recipe down in the description because it is the best pumpkin bread ever. You can make it with canned pumpkin if you don't have fresh pumpkin. Oh, so when Sassy wants treats, she goes knocking them off the table to let me know that she would like me to open the jar and give her one. Anyway, so I baked it at the temperature that is set in the recipe, and it ended up taking the amount of time it said in the recipe. I don't know if that's true with other recipes. If I made, like I have a recipe for chocolate chip banana bread, I don't know if it would take the same amount of time or be a little different, because I haven't made it. I haven't made enough things to really know if this is the case for anything you put in a jar or not, but it was definitely interesting to try it, and I can't wait to see how it is in a couple weeks when I open up a jar. And when that happens, I will let you know. If you've ever tried bread in a jar, or if you're going to give it a try, please let me know in the comments. And if you try the pumpkin bread recipe, let me know how you like it. Remember to put the parchment paper in the loaf pan so it doesn't stick. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't. If you click on the little bell, you'll get notified when I upload new videos. Have a good day, everybody.